Ladies and gentlemen, before I introduce the principals, in the ring at this time, promoter Lamoris Furness. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest fighters of all time down here in the blue corner, the mongoose himself, Archie Moore. Archie Moore. And now, my good friends, introducing the principals first. Boxing to my left, out of the blue corner, wearing the star-spangled red, white, and blue, and weighing in at a solid 201 pounds, with a fabulous pro career, 23 wins, only 4 defeats, 10 of those wins coming by knockout,
I think that's the game
all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana, my good friend, Jack B. Williamson. And his opponent, boxing out of the blue corner, he too wearing the star-spangled red, white, and blue, and he needs no introduction to worldwide boxing fans. He electrified all of the world in 1968 in Mexico City, and he brought us home a gold medal. This man has went on to a brilliant pro career. He's the former world heavyweight champion with a fine pro career, 60 big wins and only 2 defeats. 58 of those 60 wins coming by knockout from the Bayou City, Houston, Texas, on his way back to one more world title. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you George Foreman.
You were giving your instructions in the dressing room earlier. Do you have any questions about them? No questions? Go back to your corner and come out boxing. Good luck.
Some people wonder, why the referee gives the instructions in the dressing room. Because when you bring the fighters to the center of the ring, the last thing their mind is on listening to the referee.
Right. A scheduled 10-rounder, we must add that George Foreman has not gone 10 rounds.
First, he went in 7. He went with Mark Young out of Miami.
Round number 1 of a scheduled 10-rounder, and we're seeing J.B. Williamson doing pretty much what he's going to have to do, and that's stick and move and stay out of harm's way, because when Big George starts landing those shots, most people go down.
I earlier brought up the question of George Foreman's stamina. Well, in the gym, he spars 15 straight rounds with no rest, 45 minutes. Just every 4 or 5 minutes, he throws another sparring partner.
J.B. Williamson in the red, white, and blue trunks trying to get things going here. Round number 1, our main event, George Foreman, fight number 17 on the comeback trail. 16 previous wins, all by knockout. Again, we might add some suspect competition, but he does stay busy.
George is adept at picking off blows, parrying blows with both hands.
His jab is something which is often as powerful as many gentlemen's big right hand. A jab is devastating.
Good body shot by Williamson then.
Actually, it was after a couple of jabs against Guido Trane of Italy that he pretty much just gave up.
George looks serious in here today. I mean, a lot of his fights he takes on with a comical tone, a smile on his face, and then he looks a little serious.
George got down to about 240, but now weighing in at 255. He feels his weight is not a factor. He's not a speed guy, never was. Big right hand landed by J.B. Now he ties up George.
J.B.'s got to stay off those ropes. Good right hand by J.B.
This is like cutting down a redwood, though. I mean, you have to feel that for J.B. Williamson.
Well, if George Foreman ever gets knocked down, you know what they're going to hear in the background? Timber!
George going to the body with that left. Power in both hands.
Good jab to the body by J.B. Williamson.
J.B. Williamson showing his boxing skills here in round number 1, staying outside.
Using all of his 22-foot ring.
George rocking JB slightly.
George is so strong.
One punch, and he lands it. And to really appreciate the guy, you have to be at ringside, though, to see the power of this man.
His jab can distort another fighter's face. Just his features become good right uppercut there.
JB showing some signs of being able to handle Big George here, at least in round number 1, but others have. Now George getting on the horse and trying to chase down JB. Round number 1 of the scheduled 10-rounder. George Foreman, the large man with no hair, against J.B. Williamson in the red, white, and blue trunks. Round number 1 is in the books. George heads back to his corner, as does J.B. Williamson. Archie Moore, the legendary Archie Moore, who fought for a world title at age 42, is working the corner as he has since the comeback began back in March of 1987.
Yeah. Archie Moore, one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time. His fight with Yvonne Durrell will always go down as probably the greatest light heavyweight fight in history.
Interesting note here that George Foreman is in such good shape. He does not sit. He does not sit between rounds.
Well, they bring him in a bar stool. I mean, most... Okay.
As we get a look at J.B. Williamson, Champ Chaney working that, as you see, and a good round for J.B., one of which he probably won on the judges' scorecard.
He won it on my card.
George isn't worried about judges' scorecards. He's been scoring knockouts, 16 straight. And one day in Toronto in 1975, he fought 5 different people in 3-round exhibitions, winning all 5. He said he was bored. He needed a bigger challenge.
Well, if there was a mistake in J.B. Williamson last round, Hugh, was that he landed the right hand, but he seemed to be scared to let the left hook go after it. I thought George was open for that punch, and the few times that he didn't throw it, could have caught George cleanly.
Certainly an upgraded competition, as you see a very well-schooled J.B. Williamson in good shape at 200 pounds. George trying to cut off the ring. And you have to wonder that, are these punches even hurting George Foreman? He continues to plot for it. The jab now. The jab out there 3 times, 2 landing very well.
J.B. slightly off balance throwing blows there. He's got to throw punches.
A big
loss. He was off balance there.
Off balance. J.B. kind of doubles up, but it was because he was off balance. Now he tries to work inside. George with a very, very determined look at his face. 2 minutes to go in round number 2. George just missing wildly with the right. If it lands, 3 people go down.
As slow as George is, though, J.B. should be feinting him and get him to react to a feint, and then bang, move in with combination.
George starting to land more consistently here. The jab and now the right.
Yeah. George just bend it down. You can hear those shots here at ringside.
George throwing wildly, but the jab is out there. Now he's going to windmill right up here, right above us. J.B. Williamson trading with George Foreman. Not a wise thing to do.
Yeah, J.B. got the better exchange there. Little right hand as he exited the corner.
Round number 2 of the scheduled 10 rounds in the Moody Center in Galveston, Texas. Humilay ringside with Pedro Fernandez. And George Foreman looking a little better here in round number 2 than he did in round number 1, catching J.B. Williamson with a number of shots, including that overhand right. He continues just to walk forward.
Looks like J.B.'s hurt a little bit there.
J.B. is leaning heavily on George Foreman.
Yeah.
And fighting back again.
I'll say one thing about George, though. He's starting to suck wind.
A low blow.
Low, real low. Oh. A low blow from George Foreman. Oh. Big right hand.
And the action continues to be
They're right above us there.
George trying to land those big shots, just missing J.B.'s face with that big right.
J.B. sticking to his game plan, still trying to work the body.
J.B. Williamson still standing at the end of round number 2. We have 17 seconds to go. We'll be taking a break.
With a very slow J.B. Williamson. The last punch he landed was almost a slow motion.
We'll come back with action from Galveston, Texas. George Foreman, J.B. Williamson on score.
Good body shot.
Williamson, the Moody Center in Galveston, Texas, and George Foreman had a lot better second round than he did first. J.B. Williamson looked like he was sucking some air between rounds 2 and 3, but he's back on his toes and trying to stay outside.
Well, J.B. Williamson fought March 17th in Bedford, Kentucky, and scored a first-round knockout. Before that, his last fight was in April of 1986 when he lost the championship to Dennis Andrews. So he's been inactive. A lot of rust on J.B. tonight.
And, of course, he had, according to the California Boxing Commission, he had a retinal problem. A big right hand landed over the glove of J.B. Williamson, and J.B.'s taking a lot more shots here in rounds 2 and 3 than he did in the initial round.
Yeah. Well, you know, the thing with George is he doesn't have to land clean on you to kill you or knock you out. I mean, he just has to club you with shots, and they hurt.
Just forearms will do you in.
Yeah, you don't want to get hit with the Foreman elbow, definitely.
George sticking that jab out there, going down low inside of the kidneys.
A lot of low blows there.
J.B. Williamson is rocked a little bit, but staying right there like the man he is.
J.B. needs to get off these ropes, get out of that corner.
He needs to get out of town, maybe. George, as he gets ropes, not a wise move by J.B. because George is not too worried about punching himself out.
No, see, J.B. forgot his strategy. The strategy was to move George around on those 40-year-old legs, make him tire.
Decent combination by J.B. Williamson. And you mentioned the fact earlier, Pedro, a 22-foot ring, and that's certainly to the advantage of J.B. Williamson.
There he is moving now. He's got to stick and move.
He's got to move. He has no choice. Against the ropes again, and not a good thing. He's just got to get off the ropes. He spins, but George continues to come forward. Big George Foreman in the white trunks. Round number 3, and the former light heavyweight champion, J.B. Williamson, in the red, white, and blue. And having a good round of it here in round number 3 after George looked like he was taking control in round number 2. The jab out there.
Get out of that corner. You know, George isn't a work of art to our fans out there, obviously. He's not a big physical specimen. He doesn't cut well with muscles. But George Foreman is the hardest hitting heavyweight probably in the history of boxing.
58 out of the 60 fights, all by knockout, the highest percentage in the sport, with more than 40 fights.
Break, step back, turn the move.
Only losing twice, once to Muhammad Ali and once to Jimmy Young, which pretty much he hung it up in 1977 after losing to Jimmy Young. Came back 10 years later.
He lost a 12-round decision to Jimmy Young in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and he said after that fight he saw God.
Yeah, Gil Clancy recounts that story. Round number 3 about in the books. J.B. Williamson a lot more impressive and landing a couple shots here.
Yeah.
But maybe slowly wearing down. As we're going to check in on the corner of J.B. Williamson as he heads back to talk with Champ Chaney and go over his strategy. You know, J.B. did have to sit out for a couple years because of that retinal problem.
Alleged retinal problem.
But he says there was no problem. He talked about that earlier today.
I went to New York to fight a fight in which a doctor there said I had torn retinas in both eyes. And a fight was canceled. I returned home, and I had 2 or 3 examinations after that, and all the examinations I had proved that I had no torn retinas whatsoever.
J.B. Williamson saying the diagnosis by the New York doctor was incorrect. He had no retinal tears and actually lost, I guess you'd say, 3 years of his boxing career because of the misinformation.
And he's launched some litigation over that. And supposedly he's in the... they're going to go into deposition pretty soon.
Round number 4, once again, George Foreman not sitting between rounds, as has been his custom since he came back in March of 1987. J.B. Williamson still looking rather fresh, staying outside. That's when he's done his best work. Getting in, getting the job done, and getting out before George can go start clubbing away.
A little redness in the nose area of George Foreman, something I haven't seen. Oh, good left hook.
Left hook landed by J.B. Williamson, and maybe the confidence factor coming into play here. Feeling that he can hit George and at least sting him, if not hurt him badly.
Yeah. George looks like he wants to end this fight right now. Coming straight at J.B. No respect.
And when you see George get hit like that, you ask yourself the question, if he would fight Mike Tyson, one of the better punchers in the heavyweight division of all time, what kind of damage would Mike Tyson inflict?
Well, you know, Mike Tyson has that peekaboo style. All the Gusty Amato fighters basically have it. Floyd Patterson had it. And Mike Tyson has it. And personally, I think that style is employed because of the fact that their chins aren't that good.
A big combination.
Yeah.
Great body shot landed by Big George, but JB's still standing there, but he's got to get out of the corner because he only gets hurt over there.
Yeah.
George landing right to now the right, another right, and JB gets turned around.
Yeah. JB just a little wobbly there.
JB looking much like he did in round number 2, and George coming on right now. George Foreman looking for his 61st victory of his professional career, which spans 3 decades. Just missing with a wild right.
You feel the draft on that.
He felt the wind, and he's landing now with just with short chopping shots. And JB absorbing all of them.
JB's ready to fall.
JB might have had enough. The proud Marine looks like he's ready to go. At age 32, he wants no more.
He could be letting George shoot his wad here.
A low blow landed by J.B. Williamson.
That's the first by him. George landed many.
1 minute to go here in round number 4. A big round for George Foreman. But J.B. now getting that second win and landed some nice shots himself. And there seems to be a cut over the right eye of J.B. Williamson.
Yeah.
He's absorbed some big shots. But he's coming off the ropes and landing some shots himself.
If JB makes it back to the corner, Champ Chaney's got his hands full with that cut.
George will not let him get out of there. Body shots, head shots. JB coming back. 30, pounding away. 30 seconds to go in round number 4. Action-packed. George really warming up here. Landing another right.
JB's ready to go. He's very wobbled. But he's game. As I said earlier, there's no dog in J.B. Williams.
No doubt about it. He's shown tremendous heart here. He's taken some big shots like those two right there. George zeroing in. We'll come back. Action of round number 5 after this. To slow down tremendously, but he comes out with a blow between rounds number 4 and number 5, and he looks like he's got the spring back in his step, and George continues to plod forward.
Yeah. JB's looking good on moving on that little bicycle of his. He's got to move around the ring.
He does. I think that was more of a slip, not a problem.
JB's tired.
JB's a tired fighter.
Well, you know, you get tired pressing against bigger guys. When I sparred with bigger guys in the gym, they used to wear me out right away, even if I was a better fighter than them.
I mean, even he's staying outside and landing some nice shots, but, you know, George almost looks impervious to pain. That sounds ridiculous, but he's taking some big shots. He's just pounding away.
Well, I think Foreman could beat people like Damiani and Deploy and people like that. I really think that he's a legitimate challenger for heavyweight champion Mike Tyson.
Speaking of Damiani and Deploy, they'll be fighting on Score next Saturday afternoon. Johnny Deploy and Francesco Damiani from Pesaro, Italy for the World Boxing Organization Heavyweight Championship. Next Saturday, May 6th on Score. Deploy, Damiani.
The WBO title.
Yes, sir. Oh,
big left hook. JB's in trouble.
JB is hurting.
Maybe he's posturing here. He looked real. That's
a weird posture if he's posturing. No, maybe you're right, Pedro.
No, that's not. He's hurt. He's ready. That referee stopped the fight away.
Yeah. George Foreman gets at 140 of round number 5.
The crowd not too happy with that.
Pounding away as they embrace that center ring. Another impressive performance by that gentleman right there, all 255 pounds of him. It doesn't go down as an artistic success, but he continues to pound and pound away at his opponents, getting win number 61 of his career, 17 straight on the comeback trail. Your comment?
Hugh, he's not an artist. He's a brute.
He's a slugger.
Yeah, and
a 5th round knockout for George Foreman. The referee, of course, was Chris Jordan, who said, "I have seen enough." And here is the action. 140 into round number 5. The uppercut got things going as the left comes over, nails him on the top of the head, and then it was target practice for Big George, and that's certainly one of the more dangerous participation sports down here in Texas.
George had actually walked past JB there on the ropes.
But he goes right back to work, coming in.
George was looking for the referee to stop the fight.
George doesn't want to hurt people. He just wants to win.
Yeah.
There's the left, and then the right, and then another left, and the overhand right, and then the left. We go on that. Chris Jordan, the referee, had seen enough of the brutality. George Foreman pretty much stepped back, took a look at his work. We'll come back and announce the official time of the knockout from Galveston Moody Center after this. Stay with us.
how long